Everyone, this is Tom. This is going to be the final video for making the VermiBag Mammoth Stand. So I've kind of perfected the stand. It'll fit just perfectly with the bag the way I'm making it now. So what you're going to need to do this is you need 4 side pieces here, 1x4 stock, or the stuff I'm using here happens to be flooring. It's about basically almost the same. I'll show you the difference between that and the 1x6 material here in a minute. So you need 4 long pieces that are 54 inches long. Then you're going to need the width pieces for the width, which is going to be 29 inches. And then you need 6 legs, and I'm using 2x2s again. That's what I would recommend using. And so I have 6 legs that are 39 inches long. Then you're going to need just a couple small pieces. These happen to be 4 inches long of the 2x2s. So, and what those are for the center straps, and those are going to screw basically onto the sides of these pieces here. So 4 inches is roughly what they should be, but since they're going to go onto these pieces, you basically want them just a little bit narrower than the width of your side pieces. So, and then the other thing you're going to have to do now to start, you need to drill a single hole in the end of each one of the side pieces. So the 4 long pieces and the 4 shorter pieces that are the width. So a single hole in the middle. It doesn't have to be exact. All this is going to do is you're going to put a small screw in it, and it'll hold the thing together for you can basically put on the legs. Now I've already stained this one. I'm going to stain this whole stand a teak. So it's easier to stain them before you put it together. So I'm going to start this video on how to do it, and I'm going to come back to it after I get them all stained, and I'll be putting it together, and you'll see that all the pieces will already be stained. And these are the screws I'm using. You can see the width of these screws, or the length. They'll go through the material and go into the others. They're real small, very small screws, and you basically want to drill the holes about half the width of whatever the wood piece is you're going to connect to it. So again, 6 legs, 2x2s that are 39 inches long, 4 side pieces that are either 1x6 material, some type, that are 29 inches long, and the 4 length side pieces that are 54 inches long. Now, the material I'm using right now is actually a tongue and groove flooring. I happen to get it really cheap, so I went ahead and bought it because it's smooth on one side, so it'll stain up really well. And I don't mind the groove. And it's almost, this is the normal 1x6 stock. And if you look at these side by side, the actual 1x6 is a little bit thicker, but not much. I just wanted to show you that you can use all kinds of different materials. And even this thinner material here, this flooring, will work really well. It was really cheap, so, and like I said, I think it'll stain up really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing stained up, and then I'll start the video again putting it together, doing the boxes and putting the legs on. I got everything stained. These are the side pieces, the long ones and the shorter ones. Then I went ahead and put the small screw on the end of each one of these and just got it started. So that'll help me make the boxes that I need to do. Then I went ahead and stained the 8 legs, or the 6 legs. So those are the 6 legs. Now I put 2 coats of stain on all this stuff because first coat it just wasn't dark enough, didn't have enough teak look to it. So I just let it dry, and then I did the second coat. And these are the 4 little pieces that I need for the center straps. You're going to want to stain them as well. So. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is grab 4 of the pieces, 2 of the long ones and 2 of the shorter ones, and then place them into a square like this, or in this case a rectangle, and make sure that you have just 1 screw, 1 board that has a screw in it in each corner. So each corner should have 1 board that has a screw. That's the only way you'll be able to form this rectangle anyway. But that sets it up, and you're ready to basically lift these things up and screw them together and make your bottom or your top square. So I'll set this up on the tripod and screw this thing together. sure you even the edges up so it's nice and smooth right there. And make sure they're both sitting flat on the board that you have it on. Once they're evened up, then go ahead and put that screw in. Okay, now you're going to place one of the legs in each corner and go ahead and drill a pilot hole and put them in. So make sure you're on a flat surface, something real flat, for this will sit nice and flush on the bottom here. Bring it under for it's supported really good. Now it'll be perfectly flush on the top here. Now the bottom board here is only a spacer. All we're going to do is screw into this top board. Then we'll remove it, and this one will go up on the other end. So let me get the pilot drill, and I'll drill the pilot hole in the screws. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and drill a pilot hole with this. And I mean, the screws I'm using are just basically just a little bit bigger than the drill bit that I'm going to use. These are about 1.5 inches, I suppose. What's important is that they're long enough to go through your side piece and get a good grip on the leg. So drill these fairly, again, you're working just on the top one, but make sure they're nice and aligned right, because you're going to see these screw heads. So put it first one like that, and then go on the other side. I'm just going to put one on each one for right now. And we'll come back later and put in the rest of the screws and tighten them up. So once you have one screw in each of the sides on this top piece, we're going to go ahead and pull this piece out now and flip it over and stick it back down into the bottom. Now go ahead and do the same thing. Just go ahead and put one screw into each corner, on each side, so 2 in each corner right now. And then we'll flip it down on the ground and put the additional screws in. Okay, now we're going to place the center legs on. So you need to measure 27 3/8 from either one of these ends and put a little mark on your board here. We'll do the same thing on here. And that will be the center of this, and we'll go ahead and place this on that mark. So from the edge, mark it 27 3/8. Okay, so this is almost the finished product. It looks pretty nice. There's a nice teak look to it. So these are the little pieces that will mount next to the center leg. And we'll drill a hole through here if we have the rod that the bag sits on. So you'll mount one here, and then again 2 on the other side. But we'll do that later when we hang the bag. So that's the stand for right now. Again, I think it looks pretty good. It's real sturdy. Once I put the other screws in the legs, right now I only have 1 on each of these, so I have to double up the screws on each side, and that thing will really stiffen up. And the last thing is too, if you put these corner pieces on that I've shown before on the corners, they're like little gussets. That'll really stiffen it up too, even make it stronger. So here's the completed stand with the rods. I have a separate video showing how to install these rods and stuff. But if you are going to use a top mounted method, so you're basically going to take some type of material, whether it be a square stock or something like this, and place it on top of these supports, and the corners you would just stretch it across. I just want to show you how it would look and how you would do it. You would go ahead and mount these additional pieces, this piece here and this piece here. There's 4 inches between them, so you want to measure off 4 inches and then place each one of these squares. So you'd go ahead and install those, the 2 there and the 2 on the other side, and then all you have to do is just take a piece of square stock like this here and stick it through the straps on your bag, and then put screws into the legs and into the side supports. In the corners, all you have to do is place it across the corner and then just screw it down into each of the pieces of wood there. Now it doesn't look nearly as neat or as nice, but it's very simple to do. Now I talked about the corner gussets too. Here's one of the gussets installed. This is just a piece of less than 1/8 inch like pressed board, and I just cut basically a 5 by 5 square and cut it in half. That would give me 2 corners. And I just placed 3 screws in the corner, and that really stiffens this stand up. It's a really good structural thing to add to the stand, and it's really simple, and I think it actually makes the stand look a lot nicer. So I'll go inside and I'll show you 2 other options for doing these corners. It's on a stand I have inside that's not painted, but you can notch these down too for they'll actually be flush. Now one other thing to note is if you do this with the item sitting on top like that there, the center of the bag is going to be slightly higher than the outer corner. It doesn't hurt anything at all, but just note the way the bag's designed, these center pieces are supposed to be lower than the sides over here, but you probably won't even notice it really, but just for you, you're aware of it. I'll go inside and I'll show you the 2 other options for doing the corners, and like I said, there's another video, complete video, that shows how I install these rods. Okay, this is a VermiBag Mini I had, and I was just experimenting with different methods. And on these, I actually notched the side of the wood down. And in this case right here, this happens to be a 3/4 inch round wooden dowel. And I fit it in there, and it's real easy to cut the corners, and it's flush, so you could put those gussets on it still. The other option probably works better is using the square stock, doing the same exact thing. You notch the corners. Now I notched this a lot bigger for something else, so you want to be careful to notch it the right width. But this sits nice and flush. It doesn't even want to move because it's flat, of course. But you can easily cut these off to make them look nice. And again, it's flush, so you can put that corner gusset on it. And the last thing is if you want to use the rods, you can actually notch it and use those aluminum rods too. Now I'll probably have an option on my website to purchase these rods, because I don't notice them at Home Depot when I went through there. I can pick them up here pretty easily. I know where they're at, but I may pre-cut some and just have as an option if people want to buy these that are pre-cut to a certain length, and they can adjust the length once they install them. So you got that method, which works pretty good. Again, you can install a gusset, the square stock, real cheap, pretty easy to do, or the round stock. Now on this one I have a smaller wood dowel over here, but I would definitely don't install that on the Mammoth. That's way too small. You want something that's very, very strong on these corners. So that's it. There's probably endless ways to, make these supports. So I'm just showing you a few of them and the ones that I've thought of at the time. So I'm sure there's people out there can do a lot better job and come up with a lot better methods. But the critical thing is, just making sure that the webbing that comes on here sits smooth, that it isn't something jagged. You can't use a screw or something here that will cut into this. It has to sit flat. So that's it from VermiBag. This is Tom. Until next time, ciao.